And, as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, but a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity. I have long been past the age where I feel like it's my job to teach somebody or grow them up.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Riva, and I'm back again with another video. So this video has been extremely highly requested. I mean, if y'all could have sent a bird to come knock on my window and alert me that I needed to record this video, I would have done it, okay? Because I mean, across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere you guys could have connected with me, you guys have wanted to know my opinion on this conversation that actress Tracee Ellis Ross, who is of course the daughter of iconic Diana Ross, she sat down with Michelle Obama on her podcast, and they had a conversation about various things, but most importantly was the conversation that they had about relationships. So I'm going to go ahead and press play as usual, pause, play, give you guys my thoughts, my feelings, my opinions on this entire situation.
And, as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, I still wouldn't want the wrong partner.
That's a great point for people to hear.
I'm not interested in that. You have to make my life better. It can't just be, I'm in a relationship to be in a relationship.
So this is the first point that she made. There was a snippet, a section of the entire conversation that went viral, which is what we're going to be talking about. And in this portion, she's saying yes, she is single, but also she would not want to just be in a relationship to just be in one. Obviously she would want to be in a relationship which is meaningful, that is going to assist her, not just having a relationship just to say that she has one. And with this portion of the conversation, I do agree with that. Right? Because so often we talk about how women are the ones who are filing for divorce and how women are the ones who are tearing up their households. But one of the main things is that people aren't vetting properly. So her talking about, not just wanting to jump in something to jump into it and wanting to be in a relationship because it's actually going to be a good relationship, I agree.
Even though the grief does emerge and that comes and I hold that, I think of what I've done. And I woke up every morning trying to do my best. I didn't wake up one morning and be like, I'm going to mess this day up.
That's right.
So I must be where I'm supposed to be.
So in this portion of the conversation, she's talking about her grieving the idea of her being married, right? So she talked about the fact that, when she was younger, she always envisioned that she would have a marriage, her wedding, her husband. And so she says that being 52 years old, the age that she is now, looking around and seeing her life and her lifestyle and stuff like that, she does have moments of ebbs and flows where she's not happy about it, right? She has sadness. She has like she said, grief or sad emotions of what could have been or what is not. And I think that this is a truth of a reality that a lot of the women do not want to talk about. While all these boss chicks are telling you, you don't need to be with nobody, better to have no man to be with the wrong man, while they are always saying all these things, they never talk about this part of the conversation, that they are actually sad sometimes, right? That they're not the happiest walking around, although they, I'm the rich auntie and I'm so happy. They actually do have sadness around that situation.
And I don't know, sometimes I think of all of the things I've done, the courage that I've had to have and what I've had to learn how to navigate as a single person with no one to hide behind. Yeah. And it's built a really beautiful experience around me. And I have incredible friends.
Now, this is the part of the conversation where things start to take a turn. Okay? I'm just going to be really honest with you. And how you guys know that when I have my conversations here, I am not being biased is because I love Tracee Ellis Ross. Okay, I think she is stunning. I think her figure, especially at her age, gives some of these young girls a run for their money. She is a fashion icon, especially with her natural hair styles and just exuding natural beauty, not the pounds and loads of makeup, not the pounds and loads of extensions and weaves. Like, she is somebody that we look at as a classic beauty within our community, right? Like, Blackish was my show. Okay. And during lockdown, I binged the whole Girlfriends TV show. So I definitely, this is not a personal, me coming at her because I really don't have any problem with her. I really like her. But when you start to say things like, I'm single and I look at how I've had to navigate this, by myself with nobody to hide behind.
And what I've had to learn how to navigate as a single person with no one to hide behind.
That's when I think that some things start to come into play where, maybe that bitterness starts to peek its ugly head out. Or maybe, again, you being by your lonesome and the coping that you have been doing is now trying to kind of down the women who are in relationships. I think that, just in my personal opinion, being in a relationship with somebody is what takes the most courage. Okay. And the reason why is because when you are in a loving relationship, when the two of you love one another, you are down for one another, you're there for each other, you support one another, you are tried and true with this person, it is going to force you to look at the innermost parts of yourself that you can hide away, when you are by yourself, that you can hide away because your friends love you and they're going to overlook some things. When you have somebody who's going to stop you right where you are and say, you tripping. Okay, I'm not going to take that. That's your childhood trauma. That's the pains, the grown pains that we got to go through to get you to the best version of yourself. I think that takes courage.
I want a partner. And so often, and it's not just that I'm older, I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life, and who lives a very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference.
So in this part of the conversation, it was a segue where Michelle Obama was talking to Tracee and basically, made mention of the fact that Tracee Ellis Ross, constantly dates men who are a couple years her junior. And so she was saying that she's a whole robust person. She knows who she is. She knows what she has going on in life. She knows all the stuff that she brings to the table. And so, when she's navigating dating, especially dating younger men, she also has to bring into account that because she has more life experiences, obviously because of the, larger age gaps, that sometimes that obviously creates some kind of difficulty, which is not a surprise to anyone. Okay? Nobody is surprised by that.
To ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous? There's that.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I have all respect for Michelle Obama as well. I have respect for her, regardless of whatever the case, especially some of her conversations in regards to marriage and how, it's not always going to be the easiest thing in the world or whatever the case is. And, sometimes it's not going to be, 50% of each other. Sometimes, as a woman, you are, it's a balancing act, and sometimes you have to put more into it or whatever the case.
Look over my marriage. If I were to judge it in year 5 or year 10, there was never 50-50. Somebody was always giving way more. Someone always needed a different kind of thing. And so, yeah, there were times when I felt like I was 70% in and he was doing 30% required. And I feel bad when I see young people giving up on their relationships because there are periods of hard.
Some parts of these conversations, I just felt like she was living vicariously through her single friend. Okay. And I'm going to be honest, I did not watch the full interview, so I could be wrong. But from the clips that I've seen that I'm reacting to, it seemed very much so that I would have thought that somebody married for as long as she has been, like a Michelle Obama, would be having a conversation with Tracee, kind of like educating her of the positives of relationships, kind of like giving her take on relationships and the name of the game being that she has been able to sustain. Again, I don't know if she did or not, but a lot of it was like, oh yeah, there's that and they're hot. And, I just kind of thought that was a little odd to me.
To ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous? There's that. But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks.
What I found interesting is that, she talked about the fact that she's older and she dates younger men because the men her age are, deeply rooted into toxic masculinity. The patriarchy, man over woman. The man is the leader of the household. What he says goes. He has the final say. All those kinds of things is basically what she's talking about, that she doesn't agree with, that she's not with, right? But what I find interesting is that when older men have this same exact conversation about the reason why they don't want to be with older women is because, again, they are stuck in their ways. They are not, they're not movable. They're not willing to compromise. They're not willing to budge on their principles, their ideas, or their standards, whatever the case. Men get flack for it. But here we have this woman saying this, and women in the comment section are like, oh, yes, sis, I feel you. And yes, they are. And I don't blame you. So why is there a double standard in that regard? Why is it that a woman can say she dates men, many years her junior because men are stuck in this toxic cycle of, again, their ideologies. But when a woman is in a relationship with an older man, and a man says, yeah, that's why I get in a relationship with a younger woman. It's because, they're not stuck in their ways and they're not miserable, and they're easier to compromise. Women start saying like, oh, these men are manipulating these women. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, that's called grooming. Like, I don't understand that.
And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession, or whatever those things were, or prize, I have no interest in it.
Now, I have a really strong take, okay? And again, this is absolutely no shade to Tracee Ellis Ross at all. I love you and your mama, okay? I do. But I strongly feel, and this is just my opinion based off of this conversations, other conversations that I've seen with a lot of these other women who are in these spaces, that the women who have not had a face-to-face beautiful connection with a man, right? Where they have the chemistry, the love for one another, the passion within the relationship, where they are just so deeply connected and they've had positive results from that situation, could never fathom or understand the leadership roles or the roles within a household. I strongly and deeply feel that is completely related. The same way that I feel like the strongest feminists are women who have never had positive relationships with a man. I believe that. And the reason why I say that is because there is such a mind shift when everything around you in society is saying that men are bad, men are this, men are that, men keep the women down, men are toxic, oh, the patriarchy, this, and all these things. When there's all those kinds of conversations floating and you've never had a positive situation or relationship, it's easy to just kind of go with that ebb and flow of that situation or of that ideology and believe that to be fact. But when you are in a active relationship with somebody, or even if you were in a good one and you ruined it, or whatever the case is, you understand the other side of the coin. You understand, you know what? I do understand why women put their man first. I do understand, the need for the balance of roles. I do understand the gender roles and why that's important. I get that. And the reason why is because y'all be so in love, giddy and everything. Y'all be willing. Okay. All of a sudden the question, why do I need to fix him a sandwich, becomes turkey, ham, or BLT. Okay. At 3 a.m. All of a sudden the conversation changes. When women get those real experiences with the real man, all of a sudden, the whole conversation about I'm not doing that, I would never, completely changes.
No, I was going to say, it's a generational thing. So it didn't matter how you met them, or is it just kind of the guys you're meeting?
That's obviously it's a generalization, but because I have dated men my age, there is a difference.
And I think that's just sense, right? Obviously, there's going to be a difference between a man dating an older woman and a younger woman. There's obviously going to be a difference with a woman dating an older man and a younger man. Like, obviously, their upbringings, the way that they see the world, everything is going to be vastly different. And unfortunately, what a lot of these women don't understand is that they are so far in their masculine without even realizing it, that they then turn on the brain of a man and then are operating as a man does. Hence going younger, right? Hence trying to find somebody, that's hip and is moving with the flow of things and the times and all these things. Again, because they have the mindset of the man and they're in the man position based off of status, based off of being alone for however long, and based off of being the quote unquote boss chick.
There is an openness that occurs with a younger man around whether it's gender fluidity or not even having an issue with homophobia. I mean, something as basic as that there's times where I'll be, sitting across the table from somebody and just like, what did you just say?
Now, this was very interesting. She talked about the toxic masculinity. Now she was saying that she's gone on dates with men who have a problem with gender fluidity and, all of these kind of more newer age things that she feels that younger men obviously are more understanding of because it's more within their, generation.
Century or you?
Oh my God.
Where's your horse and buggy?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
And your bedpan.
Yeah, for real.
Chamber pot.
Yeah, your chamber pot. Like where I'm just like, this is not a match. And I have long been past the age where I feel like it's my job to teach somebody or grow them up. That I'm not interested in.
Now, this is another part of the conversation that I didn't agree with, strongly disagreed with. And the reason why is because people can have their preferences. right? And saying that you're going to grow somebody up because they don't agree with certain lifestyles or certain lifestyle choices, I just don't agree that that has anything to do with immaturity. I think that the same thing can be said for men saying, oh, you're dating younger men. Maybe it's because you're immature yourself and that's the only person that you can meet on a certain level. You know, I don't agree with somebody strongly having, you know, there's men who are rooted in their faith who don't agree with certain things. There's, you know, or they just have certain ideologies. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You can find somebody who's aligned with the things that you're aligned with, but to make it seem like anybody else who has a different mindset contrary to what you feel or you believe is immature, I don't agree with that at all. I think that that was definitely, that didn't make no sense. You know, that you're going to grow somebody up by forcing their belief system, your belief system on them. I just can't get with that.
And I have long been past the age where I feel like it's my job to teach somebody or grow them up. That I'm not interested in.
And I think that sometimes when you allow these conversations to happen, the more that you hear a lot of these women talk who are in these age brackets and have trouble finding relationships and have trouble matching with somebody or meeting or being in a relationship with someone, the more that you listen to these conversations, the more that you are able to possibly hear some of the reasons why they have a hard time in relationships. And it's because of the hierarchy within their mind, right? Like, I'm over you. I'm a full person. I have my friends. I'm not going to grow nobody up. Like, it's almost as if you have this air about you that you are, you know, above everybody, above reproach, above everything. And so anybody who's coming to you is beneath you. And that kind of attitude when navigating dating is always going to get the woman the worst results.
I want a partner. And so often, and it's not just that I'm older, I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life and who lives a very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference.
Because, you know, true men who are going to be there for you and stand in the gap for you are not going to take it. Right. And so most of the time, these women are then left with men who are yes men. Right? Who are going to bow down to what you say goes, who are so not into the gender roles that you're the one, since you're in the masculine, he has no problem being in his feminine, but then you have a problem with those kind of men. Right? So in my, you know, personal opinion, I feel like this shows that a lot of these women are never satisfied. They can't be. Right? Because it's always tit for tat. And let's just be honest. According to statistics, there are more women in the world than there is men, right? So obviously there's going to be some women who are going to be alone by themselves. There's going to be some women that's going to have to share a man. And there's going to be some women who are blessed to be able to get into the mindset and be able to actually foster growth in relationships. So that's just the reality, right? You get to pick and choose whatever you want that to be for yourself, right? But that is the truth. And so I don't think that there's anything, you know, necessarily wrong. There's some women who just definitely don't want to be with nobody. I think that that's better than women being with a man and making his life miserable every day by trying to prove to him how much they don't want to be with him. I think it's better that they stay by themselves, right? Instead of making, you know, you miserable by trying, you're trying to jump through all these hoops and you can never please them. Because again, just in my personal opinion, I feel like a lot of these women have proven that no matter what you do, they'll never be pleased. I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.